Captain Hejin stood at the main window of the Starseeker, his purple eyes fixed on the blue planet spinning slowly on the giant screen. His long fingers, each tipped with soft pads like a cat's, tapped gently on the crystal control panel. Earth looked so pretty, so peaceful, just perfect for what they needed. "Jisoo, what do your scans show?" Hejin asked, turning to his science officer. Jisoo's silver hair rippled as she looked up from her datapad. "It's fascinating, Captain," she said, her eyes glowing with excitement. "These humans have only reached their moon once or twice. They still used fossil fuels. And look," she waved her hand, making a new image appear. "They keep smaller creatures as companions. They call them pets." Hejin smiled, showing his pointed teeth. "How wonderful. A species that already understands the concept of pet ownership. This will make everything much easier." The Drakari had been searching the galaxy for new companion species for decades. Their own pets, brought from their home world, had grown too predictable. Do-hyun adjusted his human disguise in the mirror of his small apartment in Seoul. The holographic technology made him look exactly like a local human, hiding his purple skin and cat-like features. He had been on Earth for 2 weeks now, leading the Drakari observation team, and he still couldn't get used to having only 5 fingers instead of 7. "Status report." He spoke into his hidden communicator. His team was spread across the city, each member watching different aspects of human life. "The humans are so funny," said Myre, who was posing as a coffee shop worker. "They spend hours staring at their primitive screens, drinking this bitter brown liquid. I think it's some kind of energy source for them. Their transportation systems are chaos," reported Bin-ho from his post as a taxi driver. "They could easily make flying vehicles, but they choose to stay on the ground and get stuck in traffic. How simple their minds must be." Do-hyun nodded, making notes on his datapad. But his main interest was the building across the street, Star Innovation Labs. Their target, Tadawon, worked there as CEO. The Drakari had detected unusual energy readings from the building, suggesting the humans there had accidentally stumbled upon advanced technology. Inside the lab, Tadawon was having a very different kind of morning. He studied the satellite data on his screen. His eyes narrowed. "Soo-min," he called to his head researcher, "look at these energy signatures again. They match nothing in our database." Soo-min walked over, her coffee cup in hand. She was young for her position, but her brilliant mind had earned her place as head of research. "The pattern suggests some kind of propulsion system," she said quietly, "but far more advanced than anything we've made public." Public being the key word, Taiwan smiled. He pressed his hand against the wall, and a hidden panel slid open. Inside was a lab that would have made the Drakari's jaws drop, if they knew it existed. Meanwhile, Do-hyun was making his daily report to the Starseeker. "Captain Hejin, these humans are exactly what we hoped for," he said. "They're playful, they show basic problem-solving skills, and they're already partially domesticated by their own technology." "What about the energy readings from the lab?" Hejin asked. "Just lucky accidents," Do-hyun assured him. "They're playing with forces they don't understand. Yesterday, I saw their CEO get excited about something called quantum computing. It was like watching a child discover their reflection." Back in the lab, Soo-min was definitely not acting like a child with a reflection. She had detected Do-hyun's communications and was running them through an advanced translation matrix. "They're not even trying to hide their signals," she told Taiwan. "They think our technology is too primitive to detect them." Taiwan laughed softly. "Let them think that. How's the reverse engineering of their propulsion system coming along?" "We've almost cracked it," Soo-min said, bringing up a hologram that would have given Do-hyun a heart attack if he'd seen it. "Their technology isn't that different from what we developed in our deep space program, the one we kept secret from most of the world." Outside, Do-hyun was finishing his daily observations. He watched a group of humans waiting for a bus, noting how patiently they lined up. "Such good behavior," he muttered. "They're already partially trained. This will be the easiest domestication project yet." He didn't notice Su Min watching him from her window, taking pictures with a device that looked like a normal phone but could scan through his disguise. She sent the images to Taiwan with a message. "Our observers are so focused on proving we're simple, they're missing all the signs of our true capabilities." As night fell over Seoul, both sides prepared for the next phase of their plans. In his apartment, Do-hyun filed his final report of the day. "The humans are perfect. They're civilized enough to adapt to our society, but not advanced enough to resist our guidance. I recommend we proceed with the collection phase." In their hidden lab, Su Min and Taiwan were also making plans. "Let them think we're pets," Su Min said, watching the alien ship through their own cloaked satellite. "The best defense is letting your opponent underestimate you." Taiwan nodded, looking at the advanced technology humming quietly in their secret lab. "After all," he said with a smile, "every good pet knows when to play dumb." The day the Drakari ships appeared over every major city on Earth started like any other morning. Su Min was in her lab, pretending to work on simple computer codes while actually monitoring the aliens' communications. She wasn't surprised when the giant ships broke through the clouds. She'd known they were coming. What did surprise her was how showy they were about it. "Look at them," she said to Taiwan, watching through their lab windows as the silver ship hovered over Seoul. "They're putting on a light show like they're at an amusement park." The Drakari ships were releasing beautiful colored lights into the sky, playing soft music that made humans feel calm and happy. It was the same technique they used to attract and calm wild animals on other planets. In his command ship, Captain He-jin watched the humans' reactions with satisfaction. "See how peaceful they are," he said to Jisoo. "No panic, no chaos. They're even taking pictures with their primitive devices. Such admirable behavior." What He-jin didn't know was that Su Min had helped create a special app 2 weeks ago. It looked like a normal camera app, but it was actually scanning the Drakari ship's weaknesses while people took photos. The alien's first message played on every screen on Earth. "Dear humans, we come as friends and caretakers. We are the Drakari, an advanced civilization that wishes to help guide your species to a better life. We want to take care of you." Su Min watched as Do-hyun, still in his human disguise, walked through the crowds outside, noting how people reacted. He looked so proud of himself, thinking their plan was working perfectly. "They're acting exactly like my old dog did when I brought him treats," Do-hyun reported to his ship, looking up with big eyes, making happy sounds. "These humans will make perfect pets." But while most people were distracted by the pretty lights and kind words, others were quietly getting ready. In her lab, Su Min opened a secret communication channel to other hidden tech centers around the world. "Is everyone ready?" she asked. "Tokyo standing by. London ready. New York in position. Mumbai prepared. Lagos watching and waiting." They had all known this was coming. Earth's hidden technology network had been preparing for years. They just hadn't known their first alien contact would be with someone who wanted to keep them as pets. Taiwan joined a video call with world leaders who were pretending to be scared and confused in their public messages, but were actually very calm in their secret meeting. "Let them think their plan is working," he advised. "The more they think we're simple and helpless, the more they'll reveal about themselves." Meanwhile, the Drakari were starting their adoption program. They set up beautiful welcome centers in every city, full of comfortable chairs, simple games, and screens showing happy Drakari families with their alien pets. "Look how eager they are to come inside," He-jin said proudly, watching humans enter the centers. "They're so trusting, so ready to be cared for." But each human who walked into those centers was carrying something that looked normal: phones, watches, glasses that were actually advanced scanning devices. Every smile, every excited gasp was feeding information back to labs like Su Min's. At the end of the first day, Do-hyun made his report. "The approach phase is a complete success. The humans are responding perfectly to our calming techniques. They're so simple, they don't even realize they're being prepared for collection. In her lab, Sumin made a very different kind of report. The Drakari ships use a Class 4 quantum. The Drakari's adoption centers were getting busier every day. In Seoul, Do-hyun walked through the main center, smiling at how well their plan was working. Humans sat in comfortable chairs, playing with simple puzzle games the Drakari had designed for them. Each game was actually a test, though the humans didn't know that, or so Do-hyun thought. "This one shows great promise," he said, watching Sumin solve a complex energy pattern puzzle in record time. "She'll make an excellent addition to a high-status family." Sumin kept her face calm and interested, even as she mentally recorded every detail of the Drakari's testing system. The puzzle she'd just solved wasn't just a test. It had shown her exactly how the aliens' energy distribution systems worked. On the Starseeker, Captain He-jin was getting impatient. "Why are the domestication protocols taking so long?" he asked Ji-soo. "By now, the human should be showing complete dependency on us." Ji-soo looked worried. "It's strange, Captain. They seem to understand our technology too quickly. And some of them are solving puzzles faster than our calculations predicted. They're probably just lucky guesses," He-jin said, waving his hand dismissively. "Remember how excited they got about their primitive space rockets? These humans are like children finding shiny objects." Back on Earth, Todd-1 was in his secret lab, examining the data from the simple puzzles. "They really think we don't notice these are tests," he said to Sumin when she returned from the center. "Did you get—" The first sign that something was wrong came when Ji-soo tried to activate the training collars. These special devices were supposed to help the Drakari track and guide their new pets. But when she pressed the button, nothing happened. "Captain He-jin," she called, checking her screen again. "The collars aren't working." He-jin walked over to her station, his tail swishing in annoyance. "What do you mean, not working?" "They're simple devices. Even primitives like humans can't break them." Down in the ship's main holding area, Sumin sat quietly with the other humans, each wearing a collar that looked perfectly normal. What the Drakari didn't know was that she had disabled all 50 collars with a single command from her watch 5 minutes after they were put on. "Maybe we should run a diagnostic," Ji-soo suggested, tapping at her control panel. Suddenly, her screen went black. Then strange symbols began appearing. It was Earth Korean, but she didn't know that. "What's happening?" He-jin demanded, watching as more screens around the bridge started showing the same symbols. "Get our systems back online." In the holding area, Do-hyun was trying to teach the humans simple commands using hand signals. He thought they were struggling to understand. But really, they were all watching Sumin's fingers tap quietly against her leg, sending coded messages to the others. "Poor things," Do-hyun said kindly. "Don't worry if you don't understand yet. We'll make it simpler for you." Tai-1, sitting near the back, had to work hard not to laugh. Through his simple glasses, he could see that their hidden programs had already taken control of 3 major ship systems. Suddenly, the lights in the holding area changed color. The Drakari guards looked confused. None of their controls were working. Sumin stood up slowly, and all the other humans stood with her. "I think," she said clearly, no longer pretending to be confused by the Drakari language, "it's time we had an honest talk." Do-hyun's mouth fell open. You can speak our language." "But how?" "We learned it 2 weeks ago," Sumin said, smiling. "Your communication systems aren't as secure as you think they are." Up on the bridge, the Jin was getting desperate. None of their systems were responding. Even the backup controls were locked. "Ji-soo," he shouted. "What's going on?" "Captain," Ji-soo said, her voice shaking, "someone is accessing our database. They're reading everything. Our technology, our defense systems, our star maps." "Impossible," He-jin said. "The humans are primitive. They can barely reach their own moon. The door to the bridge slid open. Su-min walked in, followed by Ta-1 and the other humans. None of the Drakari guards tried to stop them. Their weapons had mysteriously stopped working. Actually, Su-min said, "We reached the moon because that's all we wanted you to see. Would you like to know what we were really doing while you were watching our primitive space program?" She pressed a button on her watch, and suddenly the ship's main screen came to life. It showed images that made the Drakari crew gasp: secret human space stations, advanced laboratories, technologies that matched or exceeded their own. But your cities, your technology. He-Jin stammered. "A cover," Ta-1 explained. "We learned long ago that it's better to be underestimated. When we detected your ships approaching Earth 3 months ago, we decided to play along. See what you were really planning. All those tests you gave us," Su-min added. "We weren't learning your technology. We were studying your weaknesses." Jae-soo looked at her control panel, then back at the humans. "The adoption program," she said slowly, "was a very bad idea," Su-min finished. "But don't worry. We're not going to treat you the way you planned to treat us. Instead, we're going to teach you something important." "What's that?" He-Jin asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Never judge a species by their public technology," Ta-1 said. "You never know who might really be the more advanced civilization." Su-min looked around the bridge, at the shocked faces of the Drakari crew. "Now," she said, "shall we discuss the real terms of our relationship? As equals this time." The next 24 hours on the Starseeker were very different from what the Drakari had planned. Instead of training their new pets, they watched in amazement as humans easily operated their advanced technology. "No, no," Su-min said patiently to Jae-soo, showing her a better way to run the ship's energy systems. "If you route the power this way, you can increase efficiency by 40%. Jae-soo's ears flattened against her head in embarrassment. "But this is top-level Drakari technology." "Was top-level," Ta-1 corrected her kindly. "Your people stopped innovating because you thought you were the most advanced species in this part of space." Down in the engine room, other humans were making improvements to the ship's systems. The Drakari engineers watched with their mouths open as their primitive pets upgraded their technology with casual ease. Captain He-Jin sat in his command chair, his tail completely still for once. He jumped when his screen suddenly showed a message from Earth, from other Drakari ships around the planet. "Captain," the messages said, "the humans in our ships, they've taken control. They're changing our systems. What should we do?" Before He-Jin could answer, Su-min stepped forward. "Tell them to cooperate," she suggested, "unless they want their ships to make an unplanned trip to the sun." He-Jin looked at her with wide eyes. "You wouldn't." "Of course not," Su-min laughed. "But we could. We had control of your navigation systems 10 minutes after we came aboard. We're just making a point." Meanwhile, Do-hyun was having the strangest day of his life. His simple test subjects were now teaching him things about his own equipment that he never knew. "See this scanner?" A young human scientist showed him. "You're only using 10% of its capability. Let me show you what it can really do." Do-hyun watched in shock as the human transformed his basic bioscanner into a device that could analyze an entire planet's ecosystem in minutes. Back on Earth, the situation in the adoption centers had completely changed. The simple puzzle games were now being used to teach Drakari visitors about human culture and technology. "Isn't this one of your training devices?" a Drakari asked, confused. "Yes," the human instructor smiled. "But we reprogrammed it. Now it's actually teaching you something useful." In Seoul, Taiwan's secret lab wasn't secret anymore. Drakari scientists walked through it, their tails dragging on the floor in shock as they saw human technology that surpassed their own. "But how did you hide all this?" one of them asked. "The same way you hide treats from a pet," Ta-1 said with a small smile. "By putting it somewhere they never think to look." On the Starseeker's bridge, Su-min was organizing Earth's response to the Drakari presence. Her fingers flew over the control panel as she coordinated with human teams worldwide. "We're upgrading all Drakari ships in Earth orbit," she reported. "Their weapons have been locked down, but we're improving their medical facilities and science labs. We're turning their warships into research vessels." "Research vessels?" He-Jin asked weakly. "Yes," Su-min said. "Since you came all this way to learn about us, we'll help you do exactly that. But as fellow researchers, not as pets." Ji-Soo, who had been quiet for a while, finally spoke up. "We were so wrong about you," she said softly. "We thought we were so advanced." "That was your mistake," Su-min replied. "You stopped learning because you thought you knew everything. We never stopped. We just got better at hiding how much we knew." As night fell over Earth, the Drakari ships glowed with a new, brighter light, upgraded with human technology. Inside them, the would-be pet collectors were learning an important lesson about making assumptions. "Send a message to the Drakari homeworld," Su-min told He-Jin. "Tell them Earth is ready for proper diplomatic relations. As equals." He-Jin nodded, now understanding just how badly his people had misjudged humanity. "And what should I say about the pet collection program?" Su-min smiled. "Tell them it's been cancelled. Permanently." 1 month after humans revealed their true capabilities, the Drakari ships looked very different. Their dark military colors were now painted in peaceful white and blue. Inside the Starseeker, even more changes had taken place. "I still can't believe how much better everything works now," Ji-Soo said, watching her new control panel respond to her thoughts. "The humans had upgraded it with their own version of neural interface technology." "That's because you were trying to build everything alone," Su-min explained, helping another Drakari crew member learn the new systems. "Good technology comes from sharing ideas, not keeping secrets." Captain He-Jin had changed too. His proud walk was now more humble, and he actually asked for advice instead of giving orders all the time. He sat in his command chair, watching humans and Drakari work together on the bridge. "Report from Earth," he called out. "How are the transformation projects going?" Taiwan, who now spent half his time on the ship and half on Earth, brought up a large display. It showed the old adoption centers, which were now turned into real cultural exchange buildings. "Look at this," he said proudly. "The centers are full, but now it's Drakari coming to learn from us, not the other way around." On the main screen, they could see Drakari visitors sitting in classes taught by human teachers. They were learning about Earth culture, technology, and history. Most importantly, they were learning why it's wrong to think of any species as pets. Do-hyun had changed the most. The former observation team leader now worked as a student in Taiwan's lab. He was currently trying to understand how human quantum computers worked. "I don't understand," he said, scratching his head with a 7-fingered hand. "How did you solve the decoherence problem?" "The same way we solved most problems." Taiwan smiled. "By not assuming we knew everything. Every time we got stuck, we tried new ideas." The biggest change was happening in space. The Drakari fleet, once meant to carry human pets back to their homeworld, was now part of a joint space exploration program. "Look at these readings from the Jupiter mission," Su-min said, showing He-Jin some data. The humans had helped the Drakari improve their space sensors, so much that they could now study gas giants in ways they never could before. "Amazing," He-Jin whispered. "We used to think your space program was primitive because you only went to your moon. We never thought that we were secretly building bases on Mars and studying quantum space travel." Su-min finished with a smile. "Sometimes the best way to learn about others is to let them underestimate you." In the ship's recreation room, human and Drakari children played together. The Drakari kids had come with their scientist parents, who were now eager to learn from Earth. The children didn't care about who was supposed to be more advanced. They just enjoyed playing and learning from each other. "Watch this," a small Drakari girl said, showing her human friends how her tail could curl around things. "Cool," the human kid said. Then they showed her how to play hopscotch, a game that was now spreading across Drakari ships throughout the fleet. Back on the bridge, Jisoo was looking at some old files, the ones where they had planned how to keep humans as pets. Her ears turned dark with embarrassment. "Don't feel too bad," Sumin said kindly. "Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is learning from them." "But we were so wrong," Jisoo said. "We thought we were teaching you, but you've taught us so much more." "That's the real lesson here," Tadwan added. "No species has all the answers. We're better when we work together as equals." As the Earth turned below them, Hejin made a new entry in his captain's log. Day 30 of the Human Drakari Cooperation Initiative. Today's lesson. The species we thought would be our pets have become our teachers, and we are better for it. In her private quarters, Sumin looked out at the stars. On her desk sat the training collar the Drakari had tried to put on her, now turned into a universal translator that helped both species communicate better. It was a perfect symbol of how things had changed. Sometimes, she said to herself, the best way to teach someone is to let them think they're teaching you. 6 months had passed since the day that Drakari tried to make pets out of humans. The main hall of Star Innovation Labs was full of both humans and Drakari for a special ceremony. Sumin stood at the front, looking at faces that had changed from confused aliens to trusted friends. "Welcome to the first graduation ceremony of the Human Drakari Science Academy," she said into the microphone. In the audience, Captain Hejin sat next to Tadwan, both wearing the new uniforms of the Joint Space Force. "When you came to Earth," Sumin continued, "you thought you were getting pets. Instead, you found partners. Today, we celebrate how far we've come together." Do-hyun, sitting in the front row, nodded. He was one of the top students in the academy now, learning things he never thought possible. His old observation reports about simple humans were now used in classes as examples of how wrong first impressions could be. "Look at what we've achieved together," Sumin said, pressing a button. The wall behind her showed images from the past 6 months. The first human Drakari hospital, where doctors from both species shared their medical knowledge. The new space station orbiting Mars, built with both human and Drakari technology. Children from both worlds playing in the new parks that had replaced the old adoption centers. Scientists working together to solve problems neither species could fix alone. Jisoo, who now worked as a lead researcher with Sumin, brought up the next set of images. They showed the changes in Drakari society. Their people had stopped trying to collect other species as pets. Instead, they were learning to make friends across the galaxy. "We've explored more space in 6 months together than the Drakari did in 10 years alone," Jisoo said proudly. "Turns out, having friends is better than having pets." Hejin stood up to speak next. The proud captain who once looked down on humans now spoke with respect and humor. "I came to Earth thinking I would find simple creatures to care for," he said. "Instead, I found teachers who cared enough to show us a better way. My only regret is that we didn't come as friends in the first place." Taiwan walked to the front, carrying something that made everyone laugh. One of the old training collars, now in a glass case. It would hang in the Academy's museum as a reminder of how things started. "This collar represents our past," he said, "but look at what we wear now." He touched the small pin on his chest, a symbol showing Earth and the Drakari homeworld connected by stars. Every person in the room, human and Drakari, wore the same pin. "We've learned so much from each other," Sumin said. "Humans learned we don't have to hide our true capabilities. Drakari learned that true strength comes from working together, not looking down on others." In the back of the hall, a group of young Drakari children played with human kids. They were using tablets with games that taught both species languages. The children didn't care about who was supposed to be more advanced. They just enjoyed being friends. And now, Sumin announced, "We have a surprise." She showed a new image, a massive spaceship unlike anything seen before. "This is the Friendship, the first ship built together by humans and Drakari. Next month, We'll take our first joint mission to explore beyond our known space." The crowd cheered. Hejin looked at the ship with pride. "Who will captain it?" someone asked. "We'll take turns," Sumin smiled. "Hejin and I will share the command, because that's what partners do." As the ceremony ended, humans and Drakari mixed together, talking excitedly about future plans. Du-hyun found Sumin in the crowd. "You knew all along, didn't you?" he asked. "Even when I was writing reports about how simple humans were, you were learning everything about us." "Yes," Sumin admitted, "but we didn't just learn about your technology. We learned that sometimes the best way to make friends is to let them discover who you really are on their own." Outside, the sun was setting over Seoul. The Starseeker floated above the city, its hull shining with its new white and blue colors. But it wasn't alone anymore. Ships from other worlds had begun arriving, drawn by news of the strange partnership between humans and their would-be pet collectors. "Ready for our next adventure?" Taiwan asked Sumin. She looked at their mixed crew, human and Drakari working side by side, and smiled. "Always. After all, the galaxy is full of surprises. Just ask our Drakari friends. They came looking for pets and found equals instead."